Welcome back. We're talking about addiction as dreaming. One of the unfortunate things if you're talking about addiction and dreaming is if people discount dreams and decide they're sort of the wastebasket of the day's stress, then addiction as dreaming sounds like really a trivial and silly thing. And so I would like to address that first of all. And as I do that, I have to remember when I used to view it that way. And also when I was doing my own personal work with a person who respected dreams greatly, that was Dr. Russell Lockhart. One day I was sort of rude about a very important dream I'd had, and he reminded me that dreams are sacred. Not only are dreams sacred, but they do take place in the human brain and in the psyche, however those are different. And so when you think about it, saying they are useless or some wastebasket, I suppose what that means is that the rational mind is the only thing that makes sense, or is the only useful thing. Is that right? Perhaps that's right. So the rational brain is the only part of the brain that is useful. Well, that would leave out a lot. It would leave out dreams. It would also leave out art, music. Oh, the rational brain does those things, but remember, the rational brain works for the other parts of the brain. The rational brain works for the talent. It doesn't lead the show. So, reminds me of a book called The Master and His Emissary about the difference between the right and left brain. Something that we're only kind of beginning to understand as one of the categories, one of the ways of looking at the brain. But the assumption that the rational brain, or what happens in daily life, like how you go to work or clean your house, is the only thing that's significant, doesn't make a lot of sense when you think about it. It's not a very reasonable thing to think. And so, as a matter of fact, dreams have made a lot of difference in the human race. You know, for one thing, they are why we understand the double helix, right? That came in a dream. Sometimes dreams are the answer to questions that the rational brain has been struggling with and just cannot find its way through. Sometimes dreams also pull the rational brain underwater. And what's very interesting about addiction is that the rational brain is, well, it's kind of at the mercy of feelings, for one thing, because the rational brain sort of operates, not that I'm discounting that, it's really important. I happen to like a rational brain, especially when it describes things, because I love the explanations, the mechanics, understanding how things work. That's very interesting. But when you think about it, feelings have always dominated human beings, and they're really important. And if the rational brain can understand that, then it can help us understand what our feelings do in our body and in dreams. So dreams are just another kind of view of what's happening, maybe, or what could happen, or what might happen. Dreams are not necessarily woo-woo, although maybe. But you know, the rational brain can be just so full of its own kind of woo-woo. So, oh, here's one of them. People say, oh, you know, that's just psychological. Dreams are just psychological. What's that? That must mean that the people who say that are ghosts, and that they actually believe they can have a thought or a feeling or a plan that isn't being processed through their physical brain. Now, if you're a ghost, I suppose that could happen, but I'm not a ghost. I don't see ghosts, but I know people who do. That's something that I don't want to do. I do want to lucid dream, as I told you in our last discussion. However, I'm not a ghost, and you're probably not a ghost either if you're watching that, although who knows, maybe other ghosts are watching it. But the point is that we all have physical brains, and then we all have values and things that make us unique, and those are about as meaningless as dreams. Actually, when you think about it, are those just psychological, or are those the music, the art of our life? Perhaps. So, it can really be an interesting thing to take a look at what happens when certain dreams, certain waking dreams, and right now in this discussion I'm interested in the waking dreams of addiction. What happens when people have one of those, and when the whole rational self-interest plans of their life are pulled underwater. That doesn't just happen to people who are irresponsible, whatever that means. That happens to people. It's happened historically, it's happening today, it's happening probably to all of us. We have a thought, then we have a feeling, and then we notice what we're thinking about changes. It's sort of like going to a movie. You know, you go to a scary movie, and then it's hard to get to your car in the dark, right? My husband, and he's the lucid dreamer, by the way, he is the guy that in the scariest part of the movie has to always go to the bathroom and leave me there by myself. Can you believe that? I believe it. I know that ahead of time. And I say, really? Are you leaving me here alone? Yeah, he says, well, I don't mean to do that. I'll get you some junior mints, which he does. And I'm terrified. But nonetheless, we do this. We keep doing the same things. Most of our dream is a really good one. But I'm sort of teasing here, but I'm also not. Because things happen and they're crucial to understand with issues of addiction. Because what happens to people is certain dreams are triggered. And I said in our last discussion that dreams are like post-traumatic stress, the waking dreams of addiction. And the way post-traumatic stress really operates, it isn't just the memory of what happened. That's really terrible often. But what's really difficult sometimes about post-traumatic stress is not just what happened, but the conclusions one draws from what happened. And then those sort of become part of your perceptual system in life, and those are triggered by certain things, and then it's sort of like looking through a transparency in your head and not knowing the transparency is there. But as you look through it, your emotions and your thinking, they change. And so let's say a person has been really experienced something in their life that has badly humiliated them and left them with the belief that they were helpless. Now, they may, when they grow up, and all post-traumatic stress, by the way, does not come from just childhood experience, but it's certainly there. So let's say this person grows up, and in most of their life, they're not humiliated, and they're not feeling helpless or worthless. But then they're going along and something happens, something they may not even notice, that leaves them with a feeling of being worthless, that kind of pain they had when they're childhood, and suddenly they are looking through the dream of that experience, and the world that they're looking at, especially their reflection in the mirror, is transformed. And if they're an addicted person, this is one of the times that they may enter the dream of addiction, because if you have that kind of pain and you experience it, why not use? I mean, it's a serious question. I'm not being sarcastic here. And that's why when other people see people going through this, they're also experiencing trauma and dreams. Some of those dreams for the other person are that they could rescue the person who's in it. But you really can't. The trick here, and it's not a trick, it's a serious, important thing, is to be able to see the transparency that's distorting your feeling. Not just your thinking, but also your body. There's some wonderful work that's been done by Dan Siegel in California, the author of Mindsight, regarding how the mind can improve the function of brain, how just noticing what's happening to you can help you pull out of it, can help you live lucidly, and help the function of your brain, help your brain to work better. It's a friendlier and a truer and a more effective approach. Dreams are very, very important, and waking dreams happen all the time to all of us. It's how the human psyche works. The rational brain, if it understands that, can help us so much. Truly. If it doesn't understand that, it's completely useless when it comes to things like the dreams of addiction, for instance. And it will find that out over and over again. And then people will draw the conclusion that they're bad people because, gosh, they knew better. But did they? Once you're in the dream, unless you know you're in the dream, unless you can be lucid about where you are, chances are that's precisely what you don't know. You don't know better because you're in another state. And it's very hard for people to have compassion with other people's states or with their own. But there are some things that prevent awareness. self-criticism, that really prevents awareness. Unless you can be mindful and notice the self-criticism and accept that, and notice that self-criticism, self-loathing, regret introduce their own kind of dreams. And those dreams also take the rational mind underwater, not just for addicted people. I don't happen to believe that there are normies out there on this planet. Maybe other planets, maybe they send us here, whoever they are, because we're not normies. But there aren't, there's sort of a category of people like addicted people and normies. Really hard to know which of those you'd be, since what addiction really does is take a whole process of thinking and being that is normal human behavior, like the attachment between, the connection is a better word, the connection between thinking, feeling, body states of arousal, loss of awareness, more thinking, feeling, memory, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, thinking you're right, another kind of dream. What it does is take this stuff that's really normal in human life and then provide a quick release. Chemicals, or spending money, or interfering with other people's lives. Addiction is a dream. Knowing that is very useful. Unless you're enlightened. Probably if you're an enlightened person, which I clearly am not, that's probably obvious from this, I suppose an enlightened person knows that all the time. I fall into one dream after another. But more and more I know when I'm there, and I find it interesting. If you could find your dreams interesting, even the bad ones, you might be able to find a way out. Russell Lockhart also told me one time that the word cure, he was fascinated with words and used to make me look them up in the Oxford Dictionary. And I think he told me that the word cure came from curiosity and the willingness to suffer. Curiosity about one's own suffering, which in a sense is curiosity about one's own dreams. Not just the sleeping dreams, the waking ones. Well, there you go. If you're not a ghost, maybe a few things to think about. Maybe just my point of view on what I've noticed in my own mind, in my own dreams. And thanks for listening. See you later. Bye. This is an iPhone. Can you tell? It wiggles. Sorry.